And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Minister Henk Bleker, who is the Minister of Agriculture and Foreign Trade here in the Netherlands, and it's really a great pleasure for us to welcome him here to give us a word of welcome to Mr. Bleker.
Dear Frau Cardinal, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm only in politics for 2 years, although in politics in The Hague. I've been living for more than 50 years in the Netherlands, in the northern part of the Netherlands. And I've been living with animals. My family, farming, cows, pigs, dogs, cats, horses. I'm breeding horses for already more than 35 years. And in all those years, before I made the trip to The Hague, I thought I'm living in total balance with the animal. I think all my neighbors were thinking we are living in balance with animals. Animal welfare is not a concept. Animal welfare is the way we are doing together in my village at the countryside. And my oldest son is hunting in the countryside in my neighborhood, on the fields where his grandfather and over-grandfather also worked. And it was accepted because it's the way of life. Then 2 years ago, I moved to The Hague. Oh, another world. Politics about animal welfare. Making new laws, regulations, animal welfare organizations, the intrinsic value of animals. I've never been thinking about those things, and I'm sure my neighbors also do. And I'm so sure that all those millions of people in Europe were thinking and living on the same way I did till 2 years ago. But there is another reality. That's reality in politics. That's reality in media. That's reality on Twitter and that kind of things. That's also a reality. And that's the reality about what are the principles about our way of handling animals. What, in essential, are we thinking about? What is the value of an animal? And I'm sure that it's necessary to think and discuss also that issue, also that principles. But when we are thinking and discussing about it in politics or in science, national and international, never forget all those millions of people who didn't think about it, but had a way of living, a way of life, a way of behavior to the animals, which was cultural, related to many years. Well, when I came to politics in The Hague, we were discussing about several issues, and I'm going to tell you something. I have to change I don't have glasses today, because I have some problem with my eyes. So I do know something you don't have to. Close your eyes, please. That gives some help. It's a moral duty to question our way of thinking about animals. Because in our society, I'm sure, attitudes to animals are changing. The perception of groups, religious or otherwise, are evolving. In recent years, the private sector has placed increasing emphasis on sustainability, and that's very important, I think. As a result, animal welfare in the livestock industry is becoming increasingly animal-friendly. And science is telling us more about animals all the time. And I think this conference is an important contribution to the dialogue between citizens, consumers, business, researchers, science, and government. And I think the organization which is responsible for this conference today and also yesterday. If we consider the Netherlands in the context of today's discussions, there are some points important. First of all, it is the home to 16.7 million people. But there are 27 times as many animals in the Netherlands. We are living together 27, that means 27 times more animals in the Netherlands than there are people. For instance, the pig industry and so on is very, very important. Of the 450 million animals in the Netherlands, 422 million are livestock. In the European Union, there are 7 other countries with a relatively high livestock density. For instance, Germany, Spain, France, Denmark, Poland. Then you think, oh, the way we think in politics in the Netherlands is the way we think in Poland and in Germany. I'm a member of the European Council of Ministers for Agriculture, and we have been discussing a month ago the animal welfare strategy for Europe. And the Netherlands, the Dutch government, has high emissions. But we didn't succeed in reaching consensus between the 27 European Ministers for Agriculture on a higher level of emissions in animal welfare. Because not only within the Netherlands, The Hague and my countryside, we are thinking in a different way about animal welfare. But the differences between the Netherlands and Italy, Spain, Romania, Poland, Latvia, it's quite a different world in politics in the government when we have the issue of animal welfare on the agenda. It's a different world. So when we are thinking about politics within the Netherlands, we are thinking about politics in Europe. Please be aware that the differences within our country are more extremely also within Europe. Extremely differences in opinions and political opinions and social opinions about animal welfare. Let's say in Italy, they have a big problem with the dogs which are walking around, no owner. There are parts of in Italy they don't have any problem which rather high risk in terms of animal welfare of solving that problem on a way we should never accept in the Netherlands. It's within the same European Union. It's Italy. Italy, one of the founding fathers of the European Union, thinking about animal welfare in Italy, especially in the southern part of Italy, is quite different from the thinking of the people in Amsterdam. Maybe it's a bit more close to the thinking of the people in Groningen. A bit more. But there are so those differences are historically, cultural, economic. When you never have to think about, do you have enough food for the winter? Who in the Netherlands thinks, oh, how will it be next winter? Will I have enough to eat meat? When you never have to think about it. It's quite another mindset when you are in summer. When it's summer, I'm thinking about, do I have enough food for my animals? But never, in the Netherlands, never one. It's nobody who has to think about, do I have enough food for winter, for my kids, for my family. But when you are living in Romania on the countryside, it's quite a different situation. I try to read my text, but then I will continue. So when we look into our society, it is reflected around the thinking about animal welfare is a reflection of, let's say, history, culture, countryside, cities. On one hand, welfare. On the other hand, high numbers of animals and a strong economic sector on the other hand. So there are all those characteristics of the Netherlands are reflected in our way of thinking about animal welfare. And then we had 1 year ago in our parliament a new animal welfare law. And there was a very interesting discussion about one sentence in that law. And it is that animals have their own intrinsic value. It is one crucial sentence, article in our law. That means that every measure, every other law or regulation we present has to present the effects from the perspective of the intrinsic value of every animal. And in our Senate, you know it, we have our parliament, the direct chosen parliament, 150 members. We will have election on the 12th of September. And I'm looking forward to it. My party is not high in the polls, so we can only go up. And otherwise, campaigning is one of the nicest things in politics. To really tell where you are going for. So I'm looking forward to the next 2 months. And we have our indirect chosen second chamber, our Senate, who is discussing about the more principal aspects of our laws which are accepted in our Parliament, are going to the Senate for a kind of reflection. Is the lawmaking okay? And there has been an intensive discussion, a very, very intense discussion in our Senate about that sentence, the intrinsic value of animals. And some parts of the right wing of our Senate said to us, "Dear Minister, when you are sleeping, or trying to sleep in your farmhouse in the Netherlands, in Groningen. And there is, how do you call something? You know it? A fly. A fly. I'm not thinking about the intrinsic value of that animal. It was the one opinion. The other opinion was, it is not strong enough formulated, the intrinsic value of animals. It was our party for the animals we have in the Netherlands. The only parliament in the world where there is a party for animals. That reflects also our society. And we have to respect both sides. Party for the animals and a more right-wing, economic way of thinking about animals. Both sides are relevant. To my opinion, it is really necessary for every regulation, new regulations, new rules, new laws, which have effects to animals, to be aware of the special value of an animal as a part of what, to my opinion, God gave to the world, has given to the world. So we have a special responsibility to animals of every kind. But what is the responsibility? That's a moral question, I think. To my opinion, and it's more a religious way of thinking, it is animals have been given to man to be responsible for them, to be, but also to use them. So it's both sides. We are responsible. They have the intrinsic value, but their value is a value which can be used by responsible men. And that is a bit my father-in-law. Very welcome. You have been walking with your dog, or maybe some other nice thing, riding a pony or a horse this morning. So I wait a minute, then you can take your seat. Thank you very much. Nearly everyone has taken a seat, then I will continue. It's rather impossible for me to give a summary of the things I've been telling. But at the end there will be a summary. So you need some to be creative, to think about things I was telling before. So my father-in-law was a farmer, and I'm keeping horses for already 30 years, and a couple of years ago one of my best stallions died within half a day. And it was It was one of my best mares I ever had. And I was crying, lying on the ground. Oh, my stallion died. You can imagine. How can you? Who can imagine this feeling? No one? Oh, okay, thank you. I'm not the only man, crazy man in the world. And he said to me, "Dear Henk, it was what happened was I'm living in a farmhouse. In the front, we were living with a family, and at the end of the house, animals are living. And he said to me, it happened behind. It happened in the fields. The only words he said. It was, for me, it was crucial because he said, oh, you are impressed? Please, Henk, it's an animal. It's not your family, it's one of the members of your family. An intrinsic value of the animal, of course, but my way of thinking about it, there is a kind of a hierarchy between man and animals. We have to be responsible for animals. We have to behave responsible to animals. We have to be responsible in the regulations and thinking about intrinsic value. But there is something more and something more important. And to my opinion, when I'm in The Hague, sometimes I think in the Netherlands, there are organizations which should listen a bit more to my father-in-law. There are some fundamentalistic elements sometimes in the way of thinking about animals, where people are thinking about animals as they are merely man, people. And I think it is quite contrasting with the 200, 300, 400 years of the cultural tradition in Western Europe, when you are, not when you are saying animals have an intrinsic value, but when there is a kind of a humanization of animals, then I have still my doubts about it. And I know one thing. Maybe we think about in that way in The Hague and in Amsterdam, but in the countryside, and in Poland, and in Romania, and in Germany, in the countryside, there is another way of thinking. It's more the way of thinking I present. But what do we do in the Netherlands in politics? What are the important issues? And let me be quite clear about it. There has to be done a lot in strengthening animal welfare in the Netherlands and in Europe. There are a lot of things which are not okay, which we can't accept, which do not reflect responsible behavior to animals. And it's a tough job, a hell of a job, to accept, to realize European politics on animal welfare. But there are some key issues. First of all, that's within the Netherlands. It is animal abuse and neglect of animals. I've strengthened the last 2-3 years our capacity in the inspection organization and I have the rules in for punishing people who are doing animal abuse and neglecting animals are strengthened in the last couple of years, and it's important. Breeding policy. Who is breeding dogs, animals, cats here in this room? Who is a horse breeder, or maybe a breeder of a special dog? Who? No one? Oh, that's a problem. You know the Paris Hilton dogs? You know them? Dogs as dogs for fun. Oh, everyone. Okay, it's a dog. But in breeding, there are extreme excesses. People are so concentrated on special characteristics of a breed that the animal health is in danger. And we have to realize in government, together with the organization, other organizations, to stop those excessive situations, those unhealthy breeding policies in some cases. Animal transport, pigs, cows, it's not as good as it should be. More than 8 hours transport for animals to slaughterhouses. It's not acceptable. I propose to the European Commission a maximum of 8 hours transport for animals to slaughterhouses. The Netherlands was the only government who proposed it. Not acceptable for Spain, for Poland, for Germany, for Italy, and that kind of other countries. So, but otherwise, animal transport, there are a lot of situations which are not acceptable. And we have to take measures in it. I have 7 other points, but Frauke is there. And Frauke is our new chairman of the advisory board of the Dutch government in the field of animal and animal welfare. So she's not only important because she is the chairman here. So I don't only I reduce my speech.
Yes, please.
So what's my message? On the one hand, there are within the Netherlands, within Europe, so many different opinions and positions about animal welfare and the issue of the intrinsic value of animals. Extremely different positions. That's one. And what's in media and what has been discussed, what is discussed in The Hague in the Parliament, I'm sure is another reality than the reality in the neighborhood where I'm living. That's secondly, the Netherlands, I think, is in the Champions League when we are thinking about animal welfare policies. But Spain was European champion. And the difference between the Netherlands and Spain and Italy and Poland and Latvia is huge in politics and in society. And my third point is, although there are big differences, there is a lot to do in practical measures to strengthen animal welfare within the Netherlands and within Europe. And my last message is, on Friday I return to Groningen. Within my own area, where I still believe we are living in balance with animals, although we are never discussing about animal welfare. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bleker. It is perhaps kind of a coincidence that this conference is now being organized here such a short time period before the elections in the Netherlands are going to take place. But maybe that's